Hey y'all, chilly, 22 degrees here in central Missouri. Ain't gonna get colder. So we're back in the truck and woods videos for a week or so. I'll be right back. I got a story. Just no politics, no technology, a story. Hope y'all like this one. I'm Dale Verts. This is old school right here, no doubt about it. I'm gonna go up here in about 30 minutes and get a fire going at my restaurant, which is so horrible because this is our busiest time of year in the restaurant business. We're very rural and people are busy in the summer. We had to get through the holidays where everybody's busy. Now we had to stretch of bad weather. There won't be nobody there tonight. I'll be there. We gotta try. It's just gonna be horrible. Whatever. That and the Bidenomics thing is still, I guarantee us. Whatever is wrong with the economy, I talk politics. I have a story. I've been making baits too, by the way. I've been working on baits. Oh, what's that? I can't talk about that, can I? How's that look in the camera? Does it look like anything? Anyway, gonna be selling baits hopefully before too long. Here is the story. Now, I don't have near the cool stories that Randy Blockett has. I didn't fish near the tournaments he did and the pro tournaments, but I fished with a few legends over the years, a few heroes. And this time was one of them, and one of the oldest legends and heroes there was. Table Rock Lake, and I'm thinking 83, 84. It's horrible, I don't remember. Another tournament series had come out that year. Was going to set the world afire. And of course, like somebody didn't make it. It wasn't as good as World Bass or bad as World Bass. Y'all know about World Bass. I don't know enough about it. Edward Cowan may remember it. That was a big, huge rip-off thing. This was the Skull $1 million circuit, if I remember right. And don't hold it again. I think that's what it was called. And it was a 6 tournament circuit. I'm sure the one I ever went to was Table Rock. Again, it didn't work out for whatever reason. I think it guaranteed $1 million payout over the season, whatever. It was a pro type event. You drew out against your partner. And so we go Table Rock, and they're pairing partners, and they get in the middle of it, and somebody hadn't showed up. The funny part was the guy that I knew, a local here, and I never did find out why he didn't show up. So I reached down the next name on the list to go with that guy was me. Good for me. And that man was a gentleman, a true bass fishing icon that a lot of y'all have never heard of, which is shameful. Well, it is what it is. His name was Shorty Evans from Houston, Missouri. Absolutely one of the coolest guys to ever hold a fishing rod. Super dude, and just a ton of fun to be with. Plus, I learned some pretty crucial things that helped me out later from him that day. Yeah, Shorty Evans. Look that name up. So if you never heard of Shorty Evans, he was one of the original B.A.S.S pros. He qualified for several Bassmasters Classics, the early ones, the first ones, with guys like Johnny Morris. People don't know, Johnny Morris was a pro bass fisherman, B.A.S.S back in the day. He fished some of the very first Bassmasters Classics before he started his Brown Derby Bass Pro Shop thing. And whether you like John Morris or not, he was a real deal. He was a professional bass fisherman back when it meant something. All you had was your wits, pretty much. And Shorty fished several of them. Shorty had several decent tournament finishes through the years. He was never, a front runner per se, but I was watching a Bassmaster the other day, one of the old Bassmaster reruns. I don't know, from 88, 90s, and Shorty was, and a little bitty guy, shorter than me. That's saying something. Shorty was a hoot. Did not take himself too seriously, but at that time he was in his 60s. I know, of course, everybody's older than you when you're young. I'm sure he was 60 years old or older. I mean, I'd have to do the math. Whatever. Shorty's been gone several years. Shorty, first off, my favorite thing about a fisherman is when they fish hard. I was watching a YouTube video this morning from Louisiana on something. I'm researching something. We're talking about maybe moving down that way. But anyway, this guy's fishing tournaments with his son, and he's fine, but he's not fishing hard, not applying himself. Shorty hardly missed a cast all day. So the biggest thing I learned that day, Shorty was fishing a jerkbait. And I'm going to do a video. It's one of those things I said I have this nobody talks about, a secret, whatever. I'm going to talk about that directly. I think I've got 10 more things I've come up with that I don't ever see anybody talk about. And that day he was fishing this certain jerkbait, the original way of doing things. And as far as I remember, now this is Table Rock in March, clear water, or maybe early April. Anyway, spring. He's throwing this jerkbait with a flipping stick, and I believe 17-pound line. And they caught a lot of bass doing that. Bass were not as educated back then. There was more of them. Actually, he only weighed in one keeper that day. I didn't do much better. Anyway, here's the deal. Whop, whop, whop. Whoosh, whoosh. Just, oh my God. It was, looking back, it was way too much for that time of the year. That even for a pro like it was just too much. But he was raping that water with that line. Swish, swish. Because you fish a jerkbait, even fishing hard, you fish on slack line. You're jerking a line, not the bait. How's that for a tip for the day? I don't know if Randy's ever said that or not. Trap! I mean, that big old 7.5-foot rod, just awesome. And that's that. That's what I learned. Several things about how he did. I'll talk about that in that video, when I do that video. But he did all day. I think he threw a jig just a little bit. I believe he threw a jig just a little bit. We're in this cove off by the James River, across from the James River. I'll never forget. He was just a hoot. You had to hear him. He wasn't a cussing freak or nothing like so many B.A.S.S pros have been and still are. But he goes, "Oh my Lord, look at that!" And I looked over, and of course, water's like 8, 10-foot visibility, 15, whatever, very clear. And he's got this tank. Somebody let a Russian submarine loose in Table Rock Lake, and it's following that jerkbait. Guys, it was 12 pounds between the eyeballs. It was a monster. I remember the line. Now, the lateral line is not really that dark stripe. That lateral line is really an imprinted little nerve. The lateral line, was 2 inches, 2.5 inches tall behind the gill plate. He went, and the fish, of course, he still, whop, whop. Well, he quit jerking, and the jerkbait floated up. It wasn't a suspended bait, and that fish just laid there for probably 6 foot from the boat, and then just sank out of sight like they do. Shorty said, "My Lord, it's the biggest bass I've ever seen in Missouri." He throws another cast out and catches a 4-pounder. And that was that. But you don't forget things. That thing had eyeballs like, oh my gosh, what a bass. I think that's when he threw the jig too. We hung it out. Of course, he's in 40 foot of water when that fish followed that bait in. And that was just so much fun to watch. And at the time, it seemed like a tragedy. But looking back, it was a heck of a cool memory. From a legend, pure D, oh my gosh, honorable man. Wow. The other thing I want to talk about, Shorty that day, it was a funny, because he always had stories. It was a beautiful day. It was in the mid-upper 70s. It was just, of course, a little breezy and stuff. And a lot of people were out. A lot of people, I remember some people were trying to swim. Water's probably 58, 60 degrees. But the people were out, pretty girls were out. He kept trying to get me to go talk. I had a girlfriend I had a girlfriend. I couldn't convince him of that. I think he looked at me, my short round. He said, "You can't have a girlfriend." He kept wanting to go talk to the girls. Hilarious. I mean, he just all afternoon let's go talk to some girls. We need to find some of these girls, see if they want to go hang out somewhere. Funny, hilarious. Another thing I remember, the stuff your mind coughs up. The boat he was in was a champion, and it wasn't a new champion. You think about a professional B.A.S.S fisherman. It was a beat up. It was one of those brown and gold ones that were ugly when they were new, with the brown carpet. Twin console, 17.6 probably, had a 150, I'm sure. But it was just up ugly. He drug it through a bunch of stuff. That's where I do my boat too. I'm not gonna apologize for it. But we're running down the lake, and we're not running hard. We're running 45 mile an hour, And I'm looking up ahead, and I see yellow in the water. Now, when you see yellow in the water at Table Rock, you're looking at the bottom, at the pea gravel and rock bottom. And what it is, there's a point coming out. It's almost all underwater. There's hardly any point on the bank. We're going right at it. So it's a short. He knows what he's doing. I look over. He's underneath the console. Guy's head down between his knees, digging for something. I reached over and slapped him on the shoulder and pointed. I'm telling you, of course, the water's really clear, so we weren't very deep. I could see the stumps. I could see the lure stuck to him. I don't know. I'm thinking to this day, what would have happened? Would we have cleared it? No, it was horrible. I bet you we went through in 15 inches of water. It wasn't more than a couple foot deep. I said it's clear, but I mean, there was nothing to his side of the boat. Is that funny enough? That's hilarious for me. I tell you, it was a great day with a great legend, a true hero, and just a super cool guy. I tell you that part. Shorty had another claim to fame was he was the guy that invented, or at least enough, he got the patents on the aluminum trolling motor prop. And he started making those to fit a bunch of different trolling motors. And my reason for bringing that up is because at Lake of the Ozarks, for years, they used one of those on agitators in the boat slips to keep the water from freezing. Which don't have, of course, there's some frozen water down there now. It's a whole new, when it comes on now, it's like somebody sucking a lake from somewhere else. It's huge. But those agitators, and I got those props from Shorty to a guy that built those things and talked to Shorty a few times 15 years later. But that is his claim to fame, making those aluminum props. Are really noisy, and it'll destroy a lower unit on a trolling motor if you start hitting stuff. But they are indestructible. So that's my deal with Shorty. That is my story. That's all. Super cool guy. Wouldn't let me give him any gas money. Well, I mean, he not even close. What a sweetheart. There was a few of those guys over the years I fished with, but Shorty was the best personality, brightest personality. The only one close was Tommy Biffle. Tommy's a whole bunch of personalities. I'll tell that story too someday. Tommy, wonderful. I love fishing with Tommy. Some guys don't like him. Those guys don't like Tommy, don't like me either. Perfect. Solar bat, 30% off sale. Valentine's. Someone you love may need a pair of solar bat glasses. Some guy right now is watching, your wife sitting there with you. One of y'all needs solar bat sunglasses. Click on that link below, please. I'm going to go build a fire because it's 21 degrees. It ain't going to get no better for a few days. Maybe next week later on. We'll see. Y'all take care.